Welcome to my channel, Darren's Villaging and More presents Lemax item number 04508, Shimmering Round Bristle Tree from Christmas to Spooky for 2025. If you like this video, like and subscribe for more. Here we have the Lemax Shimmering Round Bristle Trees. Thanks to the Lemax Collection website, we know that they were introduced in 2000 and retired in 2003. The dimensions, however, are not posted. I would estimate them at 1¼ inch diameter and approximately 2 inches in height. They are small little accessories that provided a generous 8 inches between bushes for wiring. These ran on the legacy 3-volt power and had 3 LEDs per bush that would do a slow fade to provide a shimmer effect, but there was a problem. Unless you were in a very dark space or in a dark village, you cannot tell that they're lit or even really shimmering. And sadly, the bushes that I purchased were new old stock, so I was so disappointed in their light output last season that I pulled them from my Christmas village. So that leads us to the 2 bushes that you see here. One on the left is my first attempt at rewiring last season, and the bush on the right is an untouched original. If you can see the bush on the right shimmer, let me know in the comments. Now I want to take these from a Christmas accessory to a Halloween accessory. And the reason I'm doing this is I'm part of a Facebook group aptly named Halloween Village Displayers and Creators. And each month there is a challenge within the group. This month's challenge was to create a Halloween or fall covering to cover snow on a Christmas or accessory piece. So come join me as I transform these old Lemax Shimmering Round Bristle trees into a glowing Halloween tree. Let's start by removing the old LEDs from each bristle tree. I'll be using a hook pick tool to do this. On the base of each tree is a plastic cover that is secured to the tree base by 2 pins and glue. Due to the nature of each tree base being different, each base cover only fits one tree. Using a hook pick tool, I'm going to insert where the wires enter the base and pry outward. The cover sometimes breaks a pin off in the base. As you can see here, this one went flying, and then the LEDs on their circuit board fell out of the base. With the old LED and electronics removed, let's move on to removing the old paint. Today I'm going to be lightly sanding the bases of the trees to remove the glitter paint. I want to remove as much glitter as possible before repainting. I will go around each base with 120 grit sandpaper and then wipe clean with a damp cloth and allow to dry before painting. When sanding, take your time as some parts of the base can be quite thin and you do not want to sand through it. If you do sand through it, you can use wall compound to fill in the hole and then resand for a prepared surface before painting. So let's go ahead and move on to removing the old flocking from the bristle tree bush. Removing the flocking from the tree will be a multi-step process. The first step is to use a combed hairbrush to loosen the flocking from the bristles. Not only will this start to remove the flocking, but it will also fluff out the tree. Now, during this time, this may pull some of the fiber optics out of the tree, if not all of them, and that is kind of to be expected. If you want to reuse the fiber optics, you can certainly catch them. In this video, I'm actually going to be redoing all of the fiber optics, so I will be discarding them. So don't spend too much time on this step. You're not going to get all of the flocking out, and that is normal. I'll repeat this step on all of my trees before moving on to removing the tree from its base. Now that step 1 of removing and loosening the flocking from the bristles is done, I'm going to take the tree apart by pinching and twisting the bristle tree. The tree is held in place with hot glue. This action quickly and easily frees the tree from the base and may leave behind some floral tape that can be easily removed. If the glue is excessive, you may need a hair dryer on high heat and a pick tool to remove any excess glue from the base. At this point, I'm also going to remove all of the remaining fiber optics and discard them. If you are going to be reusing them, just simply pull them out and set them aside. With the tree apart from the base, I am going to move on to washing the bristle trees. YouTube, I love you, but setting up a camera to show you washing bristle trees in a bathroom just wasn't on my agenda today. So I've gone ahead and washed one of our bristle trees under hot water, and we're going to do a quick comparison to show you the difference. The one on the left is the washed out. The one on the right is brushed but not washed. So I will go ahead and get the rest of these bristle trees washed under hot water to remove the excess flocking. Now, after this is done, there is going to be a little bit of excess glue or maybe some excess flocking on the bottom of the bristle tree that you may need to cut away with some scissors or an X-Acto knife. After this is done, we can allow them to dry and move on to the next step of painting the tree bases. Now that the bases have had time to dry, it's time to paint them black with our favorite craft paint from Michaels, using our matte black. So just using a simple little brush, I am going to just simply paint these completely black all the way down the sides, the edges. Anywhere that I see white, I want to be black. And I will set them off to the side and allow them to dry. Once all bases are painted black, I'll set them aside and allow to dry before moving on to step 2, applying texture. Now that the bases have had time to dry, it's time to start on texture. I'll be using white and gray paint from Michaels today, and using one of my favorite crafting tools, the dollar store sponge. So, thinking early 2000s, what I'm going to be doing is applying a little bit of paint onto the sponge, and then working my way around each base with a light dabbing motion. I'll set them off to the side and allow them to dry a little bit, but while still wet, I'm actually going to apply white paint over top sparsely to give it that granite rock look. This process is very quick, very easy to do, and the results speak for themselves. Should you get too much paint on your sponge, you can simply just dab it off to the side and then go back over it with some either gray or white. Very rarely have I had to take these back to black in order to start over. But as you can see, that rock facade is really starting to come through. There was lots of texture and detail on the bases already that made it look like a pile of rocks. Once I'm happy with the application of paint, I'll set these off to the side and move on to installing the new fiber optics. Before we begin installing new fiber optics, let's take a quick look at how they were done before. So as you can see, this is like a bouquet of fiber optics that basically the tree was just pushed down into, and that's how it was assembled. So let's get rid of that. And what I have here is some new fiber optic filament. I've actually purchased this for my Christmas village for a background facade, but while I'm working on these bushes today, I'm going to take a little bit of that and just work it in. Now, this is admittedly an interesting process because if there's any extra glue or flocking on the base, it can be quite difficult to poke them through. You want to go down at an angle, or actually up from the bottom at an angle to feed them through to give an even light distribution for the bush. I would say on average that I did between 15 to 20 new pieces of fiber optic, and as I'm pushing these through, I'm just simply pinching them with my fingers down at the bottom and holding them in place. Now there will be excess sticking out that will be trimmed off with a pair of clippers later, and that's perfectly fine. The goal is not to get the fiber optic down to the bristle bush from the beginning. This actually gives you a better idea of where the light's going to be coming from within the bush when you have the excess. Because it is very easy to lose a little fiber optic wire down in the bush and you forgot it was even there. So I'll continue this process on before securing the fiber optics. Securing the fiber optics to the tree base is a very simple process. You will need hot glue and floral tape. Today I'm going to be using some low temp hot glue to accomplish this. So with the fiber optics in place, I've tried pinching them with a hand tool. The best method that I found was actually just holding them in my hand. So with a dab of glue, we'll put on some floral tape and just wrap it around and make sure it's nice and secure. I'll repeat this process on all of the trees before moving on to trimming the fiber optics. Now that the fiber optics are secure on our bristle tree bushes, it's time to trim them up. I'm going to start with the bottom of the fiber optics and a pair of kitchen shears or craft scissors, and simply just cut them in a straight line. This is where the LED will be on the bottom of the base shining through. I'll get the rest of the bushes trimmed up off camera and we'll move on to assembling the bristle tree. Prior to assembly, we're going to check the fitment of the bristle trees into the bases to ensure that first, they fit, and secondly, if any additional excess needs to be trimmed off the bottom. We want to make sure that when we're inserting the tree that there's enough space available for the LEDs that'll be installed. You can see here on the base that there is some clearance available and the fiber optics do not come all the way down. So once I've checked the clearance on all of these, all I will simply do is apply a dab of hot glue around the floral craft tape and then insert and twist into the base and allow to dry. Now, when doing this, it's going to be very important to make sure you don't get excess glue on the bottom of the fiber optics, as this can dim the light output, as hot glue is only semi-transparent. You can opt to put glue into the base and then insert and twist the tree. However, this absolutely will have glue on the ends of the fiber optics that you will need to remove with a pick tool before it dries. With everything installed, we can go ahead and move on to circuit layout and assembly. The circuit layout will be almost identical to our original configuration. However, instead of 3 LEDs per bush, I will be doing 2. The new LEDs are significantly brighter, and a third just isn't going to be necessary. Now, for this installation, I am going to be using an orange flickering LED from LighthouseLEDs.com. This is a 3mm round top LED. These LEDs have a forward voltage of 1.9 to 2.1 volts with a current draw of 20 milliamps. Since I am using a 3-volt power source, let's take a quick look at the math. Let's calculate for resistance using a 3-volt power supply and a 2-volt LED. That leaves me 1 volt to account for. 1 volt divided by 0.02 milliamps is 50 ohms for full brightness. Instead, I'll use a 0.25 watt 65 ohm plus or minus 5% to dim slightly. As for assembly on the circuit, we'll start with the cathodes by twisting those together. This is the negative side of the line. And then what I will have is a connecting wire to the next bush and a lead wire to the subsequent bush. We'll go ahead and get those soldered into place, of course putting heat shrink onto the wire first, then stripping their wires, putting them in place, soldering, trimming off the excess cathode, and then applying the heat shrink. Now, because I do wire in parallel, each of the anodes, or the positive sides, will get their own 68 ohm resistor, at which point will be covered in heat shrink as well. These will then be put into place on the bottom of the bush and put in place with just a dab of glue on the edge of the LED to hold it in place. Once the LEDs are secured in place, I will route the wires through the base through their open channels and then apply the original base to the tree. Depending on how the bases came off during disassembly, you may need some additional glue to put them back into place. Once everything is put back into place, I'll put the final piece on, which is going to be the original power connector, as I'll be recycling it. Now let's move on to our final touches of adding some vegetation to our trees. Now that our trees are fully painted and wired, it's time to add a little bit of vegetation to the bases of the trees so they're just all uniform rocks. So what I have here are some peel and stick vegetation options from Amazon from a company called Warm Tree. I've used several of their products and have been quite happy with it as I've used them. So all I'm going to do is just a little bit of a chaos, grab some moss, stick some moss, grab some flowers, stick some flowers, and then we can move on to the final reveal. And after all of those steps, here we are. We have 4 new bristle brush trees with new fiber optics, glowing a wonderful orange for my Halloween village. Now I'm going to be using this on my secondary Halloween village as a kind of a framing device. And with the wiring, it'll all be hidden under moss, so it'll look just phenomenal. So tell me, what did you think about this project? Is this something that you would have taken on? What did you think about the LED choice? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for watching. This has been Darren's Villaging and More presents Lemax item number 40508, Shimmering Round Bristle Tree from Christmas to Spooky for 2025. If you like this video, like and subscribe for more.